Welcome to SwarmCast, the marketing hive for pest control pros from coast to coast. If you're tired of your competition bugging you and want to grow your business like a well-built colony, you're in the right place. Each episode, we'll break down the latest marketing trends, expert insights, and proven strategies to help you exterminate the competition and keep your phones buzzing. So strap in, pest bosses. It's time to swarm the market and take your business to the next level. This is SwarmCast.
All right, welcome to the SwarmCast. My name is Wyatt Chambers, and we've got our guest from a company that I met at Pest World called Sellify. These guys were everywhere, all over Pest World. And here we have the founder of Sellify AI, Thomas Lundberg. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to chat today.
Absolutely. When I first saw your solution, it just made sense to me. I'm like, this is where people go. No one wants to get on the phone. They just want to text, So tell me, how did you get from going to being involved in pest control? And you got a couple other companies you're involved with. Let me just mention those. We've
Sure.
got a nonprofit of Gathering Israel. Did I say that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you're using AI outreach on that one
Uh-huh.
to share the message about Jesus Christ. You got Sellify AI, which we know, Ace Cooperatives on the door-to-door sales thing,
Yeah.
which a lot of people, at least a lot of PCOs, are using that in the business. And then you were involved with Fox as an owner of there too. So
Yeah, yeah.
so you're not new to this stuff. You've been in the pest control industry for a while.
I wish I could say I wasn't new. I feel like I'm just getting started because I talked to some people in the industry. They're like, how long have you been in the industry? Oh, like 40 years. I'm like, holy crap. I was born in 96, so you've been doing this for longer than I've
Oh
been alive,
man.
A lot of
Oh
these guys,
man.
but no, I'm still learning. I wish I knew it all, obviously, but I'll tell you a tiny bit about my background. Yeah, so I was involved with Fox as one of the owners there. We sold our company to Rollins a couple years ago, and then since then, I had a kind of a network of door-to-door guys. So you run a door-to-door organization for Ace Cooperatives, is what it's called, and then Sellify AI, obviously, we do sales with AI. So right now it's all outbound texting. We'll have some new features coming soon with voice. But yeah, and then with Gathering Israel, yeah, that's essentially just setting up appointments for missionaries and running ads about Jesus Christ and stuff. So that's honestly long-term vision. That's one of my passions. So yeah.
That's awesome. So you're involved. I mean, there's your faith there. You've got your faith thing going on. We didn't mention that you're a husband to two kids. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Got
So
one
we got
coming?
2-year-old James, and then we've got one on the way, baby girl. So we're excited about that. My wife's super excited to have a baby girl. So we'll see in
Yeah,
January this next year.
I had one of each, and that was the goal, man. So you were able to
Nice.
accomplish that without having a couple more. So that's an amazing thing already. So this is a lot going on for you, man. I look at you, I'm like, this guy is young. He's on it. 1996. I was barely out of high school at that point. So this is
Well,
pretty
that's
cool.
that's nice of you to say.
Yeah.
I appreciate that, but
Well, no, it sounds like you've got this thing going on. I mean, how did you get, before we jump in through some of these things about Sellify, how did you get into pest control? Was it a summer job or what happened?
oh yeah. So in short answers through door to door. Just quick story about my first summer. I
Uh-huh.
I got dumped by my girlfriend. I got fired from my job, and I lost. I made a bad investment, and I lost around $60,000, and I was in debt for the first time in my life. Before my first summer, this is in 2019, and
Wow.
it's kind of a
Wow.
crazy thing that got me, thinking about ways to, push myself and make some money that summer. So I made a deal with God, and I said, if you will let me be successful this summer and at least just get out of debt, 60 grand or whatever. Just get me out of debt. And I will consecrate everything that I earn back to you. It'll just go right back to you in some way or form. And yeah, that first summer I went out and made like $200,000 and it rocked my
Gee,
world. I was like, wow,
wow,
this
look
is
at you.
it it totally changed my perspective. Well, and I wish I could take credit for that, right? But I really do think that there was a lot of things beyond my control, and a lot of people that I surrounded myself with that helped me to get to that level. So I don't share that to be like, oh, hey, I was amazing and made a bunch of money. It's more just, it was just a huge blessing in my life, and that one thing led to the next. And yeah, that's kind of my background is how I got involved with door to door. But that's my background. So and then I grew a team and then opened up a ranch for Fox, and then we grew that for a couple of years and sold it, and then yeah, here we are. So yeah,
That's a pretty amazing story. I mean, no one likes to be in debt, and 2019 doesn't seem like that long ago. But yeah, it's been
yeah,
a
I know.
couple years now. So that must be ancient history now, and here you are moving along. So that's awesome.
I feel like it would just happened recently. Like when I think of 2019, 2020, I'm like, oh yeah, that was just barely. I'm like, holy crap, it's already 2025. Time flies. So
Exactly. Yeah, that's the same time frame we started our pest control company that we recently sold. And that seems like a long time ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. But yeah, that's
yeah,
over
because you
with.
had Sorry if I have a question for you actually, if that's
Sure,
cool.
hit it. Yeah, hit it.
You started, you said four pest control companies as if one
Well,
wasn't enough. I'm just
well,
kidding.
yeah, exactly. We have a couple of different. I don't want to say branches because each one was their own company under the same brand. So it'd be like
Oh,
having a
okay.
branded. They weren't franchises, but they were like their individual
Yeah,
companies
separate
running the same
entities.
brand.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
exactly.
cool.
It's
And
yeah,
are you
and so we.
still, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, are you still running a couple of those? Because you mentioned that you had sold a couple of them, or
Yeah, we sold two of them, and so we're left with two other ones. One of them isn't a pest control company; it's a technology company. Yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah. So, and we were associated with another one, which we're done with too. So,
okay.
yeah, all these things have come full circle. I've prayed to kind of simplify a little bit. Sometimes the CEOs like to pick up shiny objects. You don't know anything about that, and we're trying to figure out, what brings
Yeah,
us the most
I could
joy.
totally empathize with you on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I've finally driven down to where this is where I want to be, and I think it's helping people grow their businesses, and that's what this is. Sellify is a growth tool where maybe somebody's stuck or they're not able to get where they want to be with their pest control company. They want to grow it, and that's something I'm extremely interested in is what technology is going to enable ones to do that because the industry is so fragmented. I think the last time I asked AI, it was like 37,000 plus small pest control owners, and a small percentage of them will only get past that $1 million marker. I think it's like 3,000 of them are
Wow.
currently over that $1 million marker. Why is that? Probably because they're doing some things differently. And so, if you're catching this podcast, you're going to want to listen to what kind of technology is here because, a lot of times when people will say AI, they run from it, or they heard something bad about it, especially when we're talking about voice. I think a lot of voice. What I liked about Sellify is the SMS component because everybody loves their phones, and sometimes they don't want to get on the phone. They just want to text. So we're
Yeah.
going to talk about that. I mean, this is the first time I saw the solution, and I was like, "Oh, that works."
Yeah.
So, talk about how did you get into this? I mean, who came up with this? Is this something you just like, "Hey, I wish I had that," or what happened here?
Yeah, so the little bit of backstory, uh, so after, so I had a sales team essentially, right? And the idea was, oh, we can go to these pest control companies and we can be a sales team for these companies to do like outbound sales. So, um, like for example, call your existing customers and let's upsell them on Mosquito. And let's call your canceled customers and let's win them back, that sort of a thing. And as we started walking down that path, we're like, you know what? We could do a lot of this over texting because we have high engagement, high reply rates, like really good turnout. Um, and so AI was just kind of catching traction, It had been around, but it wasn't like like the quality just wasn't there quite yet. And so anyways, I was like, you know what? Let's go find a software that already does this so that our sales reps can kind of leverage it and use it and then kind of do some automated two-way conversations. So we started to go and look for some of those CRMs, had a bunch of different calls, and like long story short, we just couldn't find somebody that did it. And so we're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
we're like, should we just build it? Sure, we'll build it, but we'll just use it ourselves. We won't like sell it as a software. And then it turned into, well, we should just sell this as a software. Anyway, so it kind of like evolved over time. But started with just identifying there's this big need. There's a lot of companies out there that aren't leveraging winning back their customers. Most companies don't do anything about win backs, by the way. Like they don't. There's like maybe a drip campaign or something, right? And then a lot of these small to mid-sized companies aren't doing much for outbound to upsell existing customers, and even big companies. But there's a lot of pain points in terms of even doing that from even if you have a team, it's you're reaching out in the middle of the winter because you're worried about all of your inbound sales during the spring and summer. And so there's just a lot of those pain points that I just noticed, hey, there's a big need in the industry here. So anyways, yeah, we built it and we ran our prototype last year, had a lot of success. It actually went a little bit too well for a little bit there for some of our clients. Like we actually sold too many accounts too quickly, so they couldn't get to service all the accounts. And so obviously since then we have throttling and stuff, and it's not an issue now, but it's a good problem to have. Take making too many
It is.
sales that like you have to kind of turn it off. But we're no longer in the prototype phase or anything. We're full blown. We have a couple dozen, probably 100 or so clients that use us. Some that are big, some that are small, some that are doing, under 1 million, some that are doing over 500 million, it's scalable and everything. So anyway, so hopefully I mean, does that answer your question? I mean, you're just kind of asking about like how I
No,
got
well,
started and how that, yeah,
no, it's great. I mean, I'm going back to, okay, 17 years ago. We were writing software using short codes to do SMS outbound for restaurants, not AI enabled. Just be like, hey, restaurant slow. You can hit a button so I can text message everybody with specials so that you can get patrons inbound, right? So you took this SMS thing, advertising and marketing. Let's put some AI on it, tie it into the database, and now we can do this upsell, cross sell, win back.
yeah,
And now it's cool when somebody says, "Hey, that's too much. Turn the thing off." You can throttle the thing, and
yeah,
man, I it's just a staple in the industry now, right? I mean, why shouldn't every pest control company have this? I mean, really, I couldn't
yeah,
think of anybody. I'm like,
yeah,
why don't we have this like yesterday? Because this is what companies need.
yeah. I
This is
mean,
great.
and for those, I mean, I guess watching or listening or whatever, that just to kind of like tell you a little bit about how we do what we do or like what the use cases are, right? If it's useful, I can speak to that, Wyatt, if you're cool with that.
Yeah,
Um,
please do.
so like yeah, essentially um we automate not only the conversation and the outreach and the campaigns and everything, but we're a fully automated closing solution. So we'll take a customer. So let's say that we have a pest control company. They're doing $20 million in revenue, right? They've got um, uh, 40,000 customers or something, right? Um, they could launch a campaign in each of the branches to upsell mosquito, right? And they configure some things in our software, they click play, and it's pretty hands off. where we'll automatically have two-way conversations with the eligible customers. It's very fluid, dynamic. 95% of people don't even know it's AI because it's just very conversational. Like, hey, this is so and so from XYZ Pest Control. Just had a few quick questions for you. Is this still a good number? Yes. Okay, cool. The reason I'm reaching out is I'm doing a mosquito, blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, there's 10 or so text messages that are going back and forth, right? So it's highly engaging and very personalized. And anyways, then once they say, yes, let's go, yeah, I want to do it, let's go ahead and do it, then we'll send them a contract, and they'll sign the contract. We'll make sure they get their payment updated. We'll get them on the schedule. We'll make sure that they are marked as serviced. And so our business model is performance based. You only pay for what we sell. So we charge a commission on just the sales that we make. And so, yeah, anyways, we're the only solution that I'm aware of that can fully automate an end-to-end solution, um, ongoing, for selling pest control. Um, uh, right now it's just outbound for texting and winning, upselling existing customers and winning back cancel customers. And we'll soon be the first one to do or inbound voice to close sales end to end, like a full entire sale. I mean, you'll get some platforms out there that'll book calls, right? And maybe they can give pricing and get a commitment, but to actually close the sale end to end, like a legit sale, we're the only ones on the market.
That's amazing. So first to market's always a great strategy. And the fact that you were probably one of the first to market on the SMS side as well. I mean, I only know of a couple of different uh players that do, like, I'm thinking of some SaaS platforms that could bolt on to do some of that, but to this level, I can't think of anybody that's really doing it to this degree, especially pay for performance. So if we talk about the pay per performance in comparison to having somebody in your office that's doing this, what's the payback there instead of paying commissions or having one of your office people doing this?
Yeah, totally. So there's a couple of benefits. I mean, I have a little thing that I can even share my screen. I don't know if it's
Sure.
possible to do on here, but there we go.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
So yeah, why we're different from like an inbound sales team or an inside sales team is, or like a drip campaign is going to be like, um, one is the scalability. Like we can handle hundreds of thousands of conversations all, simultaneously, and we'll follow up with those conversations. So let's say we're texting somebody and they stop responding. Well, we can easily follow up and it's a dynamic follow up. And it's like, for example, too, like if somebody says, "Hey, I'm out of town. I need to run it past my wife. I'll be back on Monday." Then we'll follow up on Monday and say, "Hey, just wanted to follow up. You said you were going to talk to your wife. How did that conversation go?" Sort of a thing.
Oh, wow.
Um, so yeah, it's dynamic follow up. It's scalable. And then when you talk about the cost, I mean, I can kind of show this super quick. Um, if you compare something to like an in-house team, and you actually go into like, what if somebody gets paid, just typical $10 an hour plus 15% or $15 an hour plus 10% commission, right? With a little bit of overhead. The cost of acquisition alone is just significantly cheaper typically if you just do commission only. Um, with a lot of assumptions here. I won't get into all the details, the nitty-gritty, but the other thing too is we can close a higher percentage typically. Because one, it's over text, two, it's very hyper personalized and dynamic. Um, so yeah, those are a couple reasons, why. We also have like companies that have full-blown outbound sales teams and they'll still use us because it's a different channel. Because like a lot of times these outbound sales teams are just doing over like phone calls, right? And then maybe a little bit of texting or like a blast text, right? But then they'll use us to have more of a personal touch, personal feel, different approach to reach out. You know what I mean?
It's awesome. Yeah, I saw that dynamic outreach. So that's what's kind of neat about this is they could text. Let's just say somebody doesn't text you back, and then all of a sudden they pick it up 2 days later, and it just picks back up like that, right? It knew exactly what was going on. You're saying even if there was some details in it, it would know to follow back up. Is that what you're saying it would do?
Yeah, yeah. So like if somebody's like, and we also do like smart follow-ups too, where it's like if somebody's like not really interested or they're not yeah, they're not really receptive to the whole conversation, then we're not going to be following up as much with them, right? Or for example, if it's like a current customer versus a canceled customer, you might treat that different in terms of how aggressive you want to be, you know? And I mean, we're never going to be like overly aggressive, obviously, or aggressive at all, really. It's more of a conversational approach, and it's pretty respectful and whatnot. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, let's say it was a win back and you're trying to do a win back. Would it come in with an offer saying, "Hey, man, we really missed having you as a customer. We wanted to go ahead and offer this." I mean, that kind of
yeah. You know,
detail.
we've tried different approaches. So the first message that you send is actually really important. And usually we've seen if you send the entire offer in that first message, it can be somewhat abrasive to the
Yeah,
customer.
I could see
And
that. Yeah.
so if you actually just reach out with kind of a soft touch of just, hey, this is so and so from XYZ Pest Control. We used to treat your home. Hey, I had a few quick questions for you. Is this still a good number to reach at? Something like that, right? To just kind of get them to respond. Once they
Yeah.
respond, it's like it's almost like an unwritten rule in texting, right? Like if once you respond, then you're saying, okay, I'll engage in a conversation. You know,
Yeah,
but
that's
if
true.
you
That's
never
true.
respond in the first place, then it's like, less of an expectation to engage. And
Yeah.
so you'll send a first message. If they don't respond, we'll follow up with another message, maybe one more, and then like maybe on that last one, if they just haven't responded, and then you can just it'll kind of say something like, well, just so that you know, I'm running a promotion. Here's kind of the deal. Let me know if you might be interested. So you can still kind of shoot your shot, but not in an abrasive way, in a respectful, conversational way.
So after you built this thing, you had your MVP, you're releasing it to the market. Give me a success story that just blew your mind about what you had just put together. Give me like who'd you work with first?
Yeah, so some of the success stories I haven't got permission to share, so I wish I could share
Okay,
them,
you don't
but
say the name, but
I'll
just
say one
tell us
that I
the
can.
experience.
Well, I'll tell
Yeah.
you one experience super quick. One was we ran a fire ant campaign in the fall and just completely blew the doors off of the expectations that they were hoping for. And yeah, we had to turn that one. That was before we had throttling. That was kind of a cool, surreal experience. But one that's pretty practical. We were working with a mid-sized pest control company, and I want to say they were doing around 30, 40 million in revenue. And yeah, they just fully embraced what we had to offer. So they're like, "Hey, let's do upsell mosquitoes. Let's do win back." And they they uh they in the span of like 3 or 4 months, we did like um I'm gonna have to pull up my numbers here. It's around actually no, I remember it's around 700,000 in revenue for them. So
Jeez, jeez.
just under a million, and that's just under the first outreach, right? So like when we're reaching out to these customers, like there's a first outreach when we're saying, hey, this is the first time we're initiating contact, right? But then you have settings where we'll reach out, maybe if it's every 90 days, we'll start a new conversation, or maybe it's every 180 days, right? And so we'll have that previous conversation as context into our next conversation. So for example, if they're like, hey, I'm tearing up my backyard, I'm putting in a pool, now's not a good time. We reach out 180 days later, um, and we say, hey, I know you were putting in a pool, last time we chatted, but wanted to reach out because we have this promotion going on, blah, 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 So it's very hyper personalized. I mean, that's even very difficult. That's actually very difficult to even do with human beings. Like if you think about it, most companies, if they're going to do a promotion, it's just kind of like almost like a cold call every single time. But for us, we're warming up these leads over time, over the years, and obviously we wouldn't, you have configurations where you can say, well, I don't want to reach out for, infinity, number of times, but, like 5 or 6 outreaches or whatever, and then, they're just no longer eligible for that campaign. But yeah, so that's been actually really cool to see is like with that customer, specifically, we've started to see some of these second engagements turn out really well and, further drive revenue. But yeah, I just think it's cool to see the magnitude of like, hey, we're actually driving revenue, like real revenue for these clients. We're actually helping them grow. And it's
Hmm.
just simply
Hmm.
because they're implementing this and it's like it's somewhat of a low lift on their end because, it's pretty much fully automated. I mean, there's some conversations that get escalated that, are outside the scope of what we can handle, but 70 to 90% of those, probably more, I don't know, are fully automated. So
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, somebody might be thinking behind the scenes here, going, "Hey, how hard is it to get this thing set up and going for my business?" Like you said that they don't have to be over $1 million in pest control business to get this thing going and rolling for them. How easy is it to set up? I mean, if
yeah.
somebody said, "Hey, I want to go," what does that look like?
Yeah, so we've actually come a long way. A year ago, if you were to ask me that question, it would probably take a few weeks just to get everything configured and stuff. But we've actually built our software now that it's a self-serve onboarding software.
Wow.
So somebody can go on and onboard themselves and they don't even need to talk to anyone from our team. And so I mean, from start to finish, like I don't know, a couple hours to kind of set it up and get it running. Usually we kind of do it in phases. Like phase one, you kind of start with one or two locations or something or small volumes, and then phase two, you kind of ramp it up. So kind of depends on how aggressive you want to be. But the only bottleneck that you might run into is just getting a phone number approved. So you just got to make sure that you submit that phone number for approval, and then it usually takes like 3 or 4 days to get approved. But other than that, it's not like you're having to spend weeks on end to get it integrated or whatnot. Yeah.
It's awesome. And when I think about integrating this with different CRMs, right? Like Field Routes or Pest Pack or some of those, does it work with those, like all the major ones
Yeah.
out there, or it does,
Yeah.
huh?
Right
Cool.
now, right now we've got Pest Pack, Field Routes, Real Green, Service Titan, Boss. And then we're really close to having an integration with like BrioStack and Aspire and there's a couple others. Anyways, but yeah, we have a framework that's relatively simple to integrate. So if there's someone that somebody's using that we don't integrate with, then we can easily integrate as long as their API supports it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you said inbound voice. That is you're going to have that by Pest World time frame, or are you ready for
Yeah,
candidates right now?
I know. Yeah. So right now we haven't technically released our alpha, but actually, why I'd actually after this, you should just call it our AI voice, and I'd love to hear your thoughts because I know you've done a couple before with other voice AIs. And here's the thing I'll tell you that we were very skeptical of doing voice AI at all because the technology just wasn't quite there. The latency wasn't quite there. The you could just tell it was AI. Um, and so we've really worked hard to make it. I think that we're right at the level where it's like almost not distinguishable, and the latency is there as well. Um, and then of course, we'll be the first ones to be able to close that end to end. But yeah, but I'd be curious to hear, your feedback. But yeah, so in terms of timeline, to answer your question, we're hoping to release our alpha here in the next few weeks with some alpha testers, and then our beta should be up and running here hopefully in the next month or two, and then we should be full-fledged, full swing by Pest World.
That's awesome. And I
Yeah.
could see this. I mean, this is where marketing's going with the websites, right? Where instead of just perusing a website, you're just going to talk to the website. You're going to end up there and just start talking. And, this is the future where you're going. This is tied into whether you can, however, the customer wants to communicate, that's how you're going to handle it. And there's
Yeah.
really no need to not utilize this technology to do that 24/7,
Yeah.
which is great,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
great.
I think that
Mhm.
AI is just going to get better and better and better. So like, right now
Mhm.
it's as dumb as it can be, essentially, right? So a year from now, I think voice, generally speaking, has been a little bit slower to the game than the conversational AI, the actual
Mhm.
text. So I think it was smart for us to start with text and then move into voice. I think voice has had a few breakthroughs. So we've had some internal breakthroughs with voice, some proprietary things that we've discovered along the way that I think will set us apart from competition. But yeah, so
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, there's a couple of things I would ask it right away. I was testing one today, and I wanted to see if it was going to pick up on just saying something out of cue. It's almost like an emotional intelligence thing. I'll say, "Hey, my dog just died," or something like that. It acknowledges that and says, "Hey, I'm sorry you lost your dog," or "I'm sorry this happened to you." The AI picked up on it. I thought that was great. The engine was a good engine. And that was the first question I asked it. I kind of interrupted it and made a statement. So it's
yeah,
interesting when they have those kind of things built into it to where it doesn't sound so mechanical and the latency is super slow. And
yeah,
guys like you and me would probably just hang up, right? Or, hey, can I
yeah,
talk to somebody real?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback because I think we've been
Yeah.
able to solve a lot of those things. But yeah,
We're gonna alpha it out. So I'll get a number
sounds
from
good.
you, and me and my team will alpha it out. I'm happy to test that for you. I
Yeah,
know some of the models that are out there. I'll probably be able to even tell which one you're using, but that's great. The technology
yeah,
has come like a long way in the last 12 months for sure.
yeah.
So talk
I'd
to
love
us.
to see if you can
Yeah,
guess that.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. There's only a couple good ones out there, but we'll see. I think that the pest control technology stuff is a little behind some of the other industries like HVAC or but it's coming up to speed pretty quick, and that's a good kind of a segue to saying, hey, what is the future of sales in AI? Because that's where you're playing in. What is that? What does that look like for Sellify?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're gonna own just like inbound, outbound, text and voice. Basically, we'll be a sales team. Yeah, a sales team that you could deploy at any given moment, and that's fully scalable. Um, we're I think for us, you kind of asked about industries. For us, it's less about like the industry. It's more about the CRM that we can integrate with. Um, and we're really just focused on really owning the market on pest and lawn, dabbling into a little bit, and home services generally. But yeah, pest is kind of where we've really niched down so far.
It's awesome. I mean, it's amazing to see where this is going to be. I know Mariah reached out for we're writing a book completely on AI.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Completely on AI. Which last year I brought to Pest World a marketing book, digital marketing book that I was handing out that I wrote with one AI chapter. This book that's coming out is just about AI technology enablement and it needs a Sellify chapter for sure. So I'm sure we're going to get one, hopefully from you guys if
Yeah,
we haven't
yeah.
already. Yeah, we definitely need a
I
Sellify
I
chapter
think
for
we have a
sure.
draft for you already. I
Oh,
remember
good.
seeing
Oh,
the draft
good.
come across my table.
Right on. Then it sounds like we're gonna have a nice book. We're putting it all together. I'm sure, like most people that are going to Pest World, they're just getting everything
Are you gonna have
wrapped
it
out.
before Pest World?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Cool.
No, it's a deadline. It's a deadline. I've already
Yeah.
made some promises, and it's something I thought about early in the first quarter. I'm like, we're going to do this because it's needed,
Uh-huh.
and it's changing so rapidly. But here's an example of this is happening in the pest space that the technology that you're putting out there. It sounds like you have the statistics to share because you charge per conversion, right? Really, an
Yeah.
end-to-end piece. How many millions and I mean hundreds of millions of dollars have you been able to drive to pest control owners through your solution? Is there a way that you could, or are
Yeah.
we, how far out are you? I mean, how far have you come?
Um, yeah, so I'll just kind of one thing that you said made me just think about this too. Like when we bring on a client, we actually view them as like a partner because our incentives are aligned to grow their company, whereas, a lot of softwares are more incentivized to get them to add a new location and add more users or something. Um, I mean, we don't charge per user. You can have as many users as you want, really. But one thing that we bring to the table is we actually have a ton of this data, and we can tell you, hey, this has worked in the past, and by the way, this hasn't. And so, not only do you get like a software company, but it's also like an agency where we can like essentially say, like for you, it's like consulting, like a marketing agency, like you're consulting a company, right? It's a similar thing with us, like when we're like a sales consulting company almost too, where it's like, hey, we'll by default give you a dedicated client success manager at no additional cost because we're totally willing to invest that time and effort to make sure that these campaigns go really well. So, yeah, I mean, in terms of how much volume we've generated, it's it's millions in terms of how much we've generated for clients. It also just depends on how you want to measure it. We do measure our revenue that we generated for clients. So good chunk of it's going to be upsells, and a good chunk is going to be winbacks, at least at this point. And then yeah, we haven't had anything yet for inbound, but yeah, couple or several million. So
Yeah, I think it's amazing. I mean, going from telling your story from where you started to where you are right now with this product, and then I'm thinking about all kinds of different opportunities. I know we were talking a little bit before, but just think about somebody wants to buy a pest control business, okay? And I'm in the market, and I want to buy this pest control company, and they got 600 customers, but they only offer one type of service. So that's I have to solve for, hey, I need a technician that can do termite, or I need a technician to be able to do mosquito. You have the data to go, hey, Wyatt, this is what we have. We've helped clients upsell or cross sell, and this is what the data now shows. If we put our system on something like this, you can expect that 600 of those clients, we're going to get 200 of them on this mosquito. Now that just reduced the risk from a buyer to go out there and purchase something because there's some predictability to knowing how much more business they can get by enablement.
yeah,
And I didn't have to hire a salesperson. I just had to light up this Sellify platform and let it go and let
yeah.
it roll.
Yeah, and to kind of give you some numbers, if people are or some owners are watching this and you're curious, like how much could you actually generate? How much revenue? You can generate probably depend. So if you've got um, for every conversation, for an upsell, on average, we can do anywhere from as low as, a couple dollars per conversation to as high as we've seen as high as like $40 per conversation in revenue. So like for example, if you had, 10,000 customers, right? On the low end, that's $10,000. On the high end, you're talking $400,000 in potential revenue that you could generate on a first outreach with one upsell campaign. So, you think about multiple outreaches and multiple upsell campaigns, the sky's kind of the limit there. Um, and then when you talk about win backs, you anywhere from half a or 50 cents to a dollar. We've seen as high as 7, 8, $10 on win backs. So they're going to be a little bit lower
Wow.
converting, obviously, but so you can kind of run some numbers if people are I'm my background is in finance. I guess I did finance and entrepreneurship in college, so I'm a big numbers guy and like to dissect that. So for those that are interested, they can run some numbers.
I think it's great. I mean, it definitely could be an awesome partner. I like you said you're a partner with the people that are running these businesses, these PCOs, some of these guys are really big that it sounds like you're working with as well. And they're looking at the numbers. That's exactly what I would be doing is saying, hey, if
Yeah,
this can enable if this AI enablement with a tool that actually works in the sales category, that's one of the hardest things to move that number. There's a lot of, I would say it's unpredictable in some cases, right? And if you're already doing it with an automated solution that sells it as good as it did the first time, what happens with salespeople? They do this, you know, and,
yeah,
and, and you got a solution that has hey, we can count on this producing this. that predictability, man, that's a wonderful solution. So that's great.
Yeah. I mean,
Awesome.
the nice thing about AI is that it's very consistent. I mean, you're going to have it 90, it's going to be consistent 95% of the time. Whereas a human, it's going to be consistent, maybe more like 50, 60, 70, depends on your team.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get it. I
You
mean,
know?
there's going to be those guys that are listening to this, they're skeptical, right? So, I mean, do you guys run a camp like a something that you'd go for 30 days? Now that you can set this thing up in a couple hours, do you guys say we'll run this for a 30-day campaign for you?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have any contracts or anything, so we have a lot of people that, that kind of dip their toe in. They're like, "Yeah, I don't know, but let me ease my way into it." I mean, I think that's normal. People, I mean, this is a new software, new technology. You
Mhm.
just don't know what you don't know. And so, but yeah, I mean, knock on wood, usually when people try it out, most cases they try it out small scale, they love it and they ramp it up, you know what I mean? Um, I mean, a lot of times people kind of like some common questions we get are like, well, how do you make sure it doesn't go off the rails? And we have so many like we have so many guardrails on it that it does a really good job. And I just say that generally speaking, it's going to be way more consistent than a human, and way more consistent with following rules and policies of your company and making sure that you articulate the pricing correctly. And sure, you'll have sometimes where it'll slip up slightly and what, but then it usually auto corrects itself within the conversation, um and yeah, like I said earlier, like it's the dumbest that it's ever going to be, it's just going to keep getting smarter every year, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Well, I'm thinking about connecting some dots already for you. Some people in our mastermind, for example, maybe they lost salespeople, and that could just blow up their whole year unless they're able to find another salesperson to get in there and fill that role. And that sometimes it doesn't happen as quick as a lot of these business owners would like to happen, right?
Yeah,
And if you have the owner running sales, now they're neglecting their operation, and that's hard to keep the business rolling. I mean, I'm talking about people that are sub, I would say $2 million level
yeah,
where they have less than two salespeople, right?
yeah.
This might be a good thing to look at as
Oh
far
yeah.
as when I say it just accentuates what you're doing. And I'm thinking about just passing some names to you after I get off this podcast. But this is great. I'm glad that you decided to come on today. Here we are talking about Sellify AI, and Thomas, you've done a great job, man. I appreciate you coming on, and
Yeah.
we're
Thank
gonna
you.
push this. Yeah, we're gonna push this thing out. We're going to get that book in the that chapter in the book, and of course, we're going to see you at Pest World and see how we can work on the alpha program here too. I'm going to put it to the test.
Yeah, that sounds great if you want to stay after. Yeah, and for those that are interested, yeah, sellifyai.com is our website, and yeah, looking forward to it. And thanks Wyatt for having me on. It's been great to chat about all this stuff, and yeah, look forward to working with you hereafter.
That's a wrap on this episode of SwarmCast. Thanks for tuning in and arming yourself with the marketing firepower to keep your pest control business thriving. Before you scurry off, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode and leave us a review. It helps us spread like a well-placed bait station. Got a topic you want us to tackle? Drop us a line and let's keep the conversation buzzing. Until next time, stay sharp, stay strategic, and keep swarming the market.